Hello YouTube! Welcome to a YouTube exclusive. I'm Wardy, of course. You might have forgotten because, oh my god, it has been a while. I'll talk about why that is in just a moment. Let's introduce our players. To the top right hand side for today's cast from the Olimoleague, our red Zerg player is Leenock. Up against the blue Terran player. In the bottom left hand side of the map, we've got INnoVation. Got a best of 3 TvZ for you guys today. So last week, unfortunately, I had to take some personal time off. I know the YouTube uploads were going pretty well and stuff. I had to take some time off last week because my mum went into hospital, so I took a bunch of time off stream and so on. She's still in hospital now, but obviously at some point I actually have to get back on track with things, so we are back with the YouTube content. It wasn't just the YouTube exclusives that were gone, it was also just all of the YouTube uploads. I just was so caught up, hectic, and busy that I just sort of completely shut off work for a couple days just to get everything sorted out, and so YouTube uploads did suffer from that. And because I haven't been streaming much on my own channel, on my own stream, there's not been a lot to actually upload to the YouTube channel as well, though starting to fix that as we're getting streaming again. And I really just wasn't having the time to do full-on YouTube casts. So today, we're back with the YouTube casts, and so I'm just going to say it would mean a whole bunch of you guys, if you do like the video and so on, if you could hit that like button, or if you could comment down below. The last couple of videos I've uploaded have definitely taken a big viewership hit just from the fact that we have seen a few days without any content on the channel. So if you guys could get a bunch of likes and comments on this video, it would be super, super awesome, so we can just boost this back up and get back on track with the whole YouTube thingy-my-bobby and get all those views back up and just do really well on YouTube again, because I was really excited about how well it was going. It would be a shame to lose all of that because of some personal issues in my life. As this pool first opening from Leenock gets going, as always, we try and cut off at the 2-minute marker in terms of nonsense talk here in the YouTube videos, so that's right now, as we do see a few lings heading across the map. So definitely a little bit aggressive here in the early stages of our first game from Leenock, who traditionally against INnoVation does not really have a winning record, and did win against him back in an Olimoleague in 2018. But other than that, in 2018 also lost out in a couple of other cups, Kung Fu Cup, lost out in GSL groups. In general, I mean, INnoVation I think is expected to be the stronger player than Leenock. And of course, so far this year, INnoVation definitely seems to be proven that. While he had a disappointing Katowice, he had a very successful WESG, taking home a whole bunch of prize money for first place in that tournament. So, INnoVation definitely got to be the favorite here as we get into this. And you do see a couple of lings being shut down. That pool first opening didn't really end up doing too much, did it? We have a look at this. 4 lings lost for the 1 SCV. Yeah, not too much at all. A bit of lost mining time. Now this is the interesting follow-up though. 14 more Zerglings on the way, so Leenock is going to go for another round of aggression. It's interesting. It's probably a reaction to seeing the no factory on the reactor, or no factory near the reactor. This means you're probably not expecting this to be Hellions, and if this is not Hellions, what is the Terran player going to do to clean up these Zerglings? Well, it actually gets very difficult. It gets very tough to decide, or to do anything, especially if your Marines are very far forwards, out of position to hunt down an Overlord. This is actually completely the worst possible scenario, I think. The Lings have avoided the Reaper, so INnoVation has no idea about this still. Oh, he does see them. He sees them coming. So he's going to start running up his ramp. Needs to cancel that depot, which he does. He runs up his ramp. He needs a few more SCVs here to really kind of buffer for those Marines. There's only 4 Marines, and they get surrounded pretty much right away. A siege tank on the way out. Reaper comes back home as well. Grenade goes off. This is already the Marines dead. The Reaper going to be chased away as well. 4 SCVs down. And obviously, a lot of Lings still left in this main base. They go to town here. 7 workers killed coming back across. We see a Reaper getting picked off as well. And these Lings turn back around and picking off a couple of those Marines. So a couple more Marines dropping down here. 7 workers killed. And still Zerglings up as well. Oh my god, they're not getting so much damage done with this. And again, I think just a response to his early scouting, which was he saw the barracks and the reactor at the front. He saw the factory nowhere near it. Which means how on earth are you going to have Hellions? The factory's not just going to build its own reactor. So yeah, definitely a bit of a response there from Leenock, which worked out very well. It's done a huge amount of damage, and it puts him in a great position right at the start here on New Repugnancy. 11 workers in the lead, and kind of, cleaned up a lot of the units from INnoVation too, right? And that's a big part of this. It's not like now he has to stop droning to build units of his own. He's in no trouble at all because INnoVation barely has any units to push with. Okay, I mean, not nothing. He still has the 2 tanks which we're building, but these are only supported by 4 Marines pushing across the map. The next 2 Marines are still sat back at home. So realistically, Leenock in a pretty good spot here, man. Tell you what, I'd love to see a couple more Lings just for a situation like this where INnoVation is pushing across the map. Counter-attack right now could be really awesome. As INnoVation comes over, tell you what, that bunker positioning is pretty good. The few Marines coming into position. If he gets those tanks over there, well, this low ground base might be in a lot of trouble. This could be a real way back into the game for INnoVation, who will start a fire, and he will already get a drone kill, and that Spore Crawler starting to fall, forced to relocate. Now, this is really nice for INnoVation. Good damage being put out onto the third. Lings will counterattack, but now it's too late. There's enough units back at home to defend a counterattack, so that's not really a problem. Plus, we're also on the verge of having a wall off here, so really isn't looking to be too much of a problem as the SCV comes in. Ooh, doesn't get the wall off down, though. And the units did just load up from INnoVation. They're moving across the map, so actually this counterattack's going to start killing units all over again. Queen's coming over to try and help. That tank fire on the hatchery is deadly, of course. The Zerglings picking their way through the wall on the low ground. This game is just getting scrappy and messy. Tanks continue to fight over here. What happened to that other medevac of units? Did it continue across? It did, so it's still over here. Man, all of these supply depots for INnoVation going down. That's going to be a huge supply block for him. That's a real pain in the butt for him right now, as we're going to see Marines actually dropping down to help out on this fight. Going to help and fight these Queens. Queens are now out of transfuse energy, so they are going to be pushed back. This tank will unsiege, relocate to where the first tank was, because that was a very powerful position. Man, those bunkers are still just keeping us in such a good spot. There's the Banelings to finally bust through this, perhaps. And that's what's really been missing here, right? Something beyond Zerglings. Something that can actually bust through this spot, but third base goes down. Now, Leenock losing the third, but you got to give it to INnoVation. He has taken damage at home as well. Leenock's done a great job of being able to apply further pressure, and now here we are. I mean, okay, INnoVation's minding the game from the natural, but there's another round of Zerglings coming across the map. Leenock kind of feels like he needs a little bit of something here, as we're going to see those Lings starting to run in. The tank fire will push the Lings back. And now we're going to be seeing that Baneling nest dropping down on the natural expansion. Leenock actually just wandering across the map with all of those Banelings that he made. He never busted this position. It was just taken away. Oh no, that medevac flies through the Spore Crawler. Full medevac of Marines goes down. INnoVation with the question mark. Why is your Spore Crawler there? It's literally bleeding out. The bleeding out Spore Crawler kills a full medevac. When have you ever seen that before? Oh my god, full medevac of units, and that's a big loss for INnoVation again. Losing a bunch of units he was hoping to kind of keep Leenock pinned at home with. Now Leenock starting to press forwards once more. A bunch of Banes, a few Zerglings, all of this coming towards the front. I mean, you're going to bust straight through the supply depots. The command center gets cancelled. INnoVation knowing it wasn't going to survive that damage. Wolof is instantly rebuilt. He has the two tanks all that INnoVation has to drop, and he is dropping them across the map, looking for a Queen killer. So super close. Transfuse comes down in the last second there, as the tanks also got pushed back. Man, absolutely crazy start to the first game of this series. Couldn't have asked for much more or much less, really. It's just so Leenock, right? Making Zerglings to abuse, counter-attacking, being all over the place. Just playing that little bit of an unorthodox style that really sees Leenock excel, even though his macro game per se isn't necessarily so dangerous. We see those Lings moving around a little bit. Marines and tanks from INnoVation starting to press forwards in towards the center. Zerglings down to the bottom side now. Hydralisk Den from Leenock is coming in behind the natural expansion. And these Zerglings going to start running across, and we are going to be seeing an SCV going to get picked up as well. And we just see a couple of Marines picking off a Zergling or so, as we see another couple of tanks going to get sieged. And this position is once again being utilized. INnoVation also setting up a siege towards the base up at the top side, so both these bases in trouble. But I tell you what, if Leenock wanted to use Burrow Banes to get back into that, he actually needs the Burrow upgrade, and that's going to be absolutely denied here. So Burrow is denied as another Baneling busts across the map. A siege tank is saved, relocated behind the SCVs. Meanwhile, we've got a couple of Marines just poking away at that hatchery. The tank fire just keeping units from coming out towards it. Another wave of Ling Bane does not go across the map. Will come in to clean up these tanks, but honestly, even the tank fire does a lot against these Zerglings and Banelings. It's just so funny. There's almost more tanks than Marines in these fights, and it's actually really kind of not ideal for INnoVation to be able to clean up this army and to clean up so much Ling Bane, as INnoVation trying to push up here. Still doesn't have stim, still doesn't have combat shields, by the way, because again, it's been a crazy game. It didn't really start off with going straight into, like, bio upgrades or anything. There's +1/+1 finishes for Leenock. I think INnoVation is right to back away. I don't think he knows about the 1-1 timing, but if he did, I think he'd back away twice as quickly, because there is no way he wants to be fighting those Lings in an upgrade disadvantage, especially when stim and combat shields are on their way. Just no point in me taking those fights. So I think for the first time in about 10 minutes, this entire game has just been wacky from the pool first onwards. I think for the first time, we're really going to just be able to sit here and say, okay, these things get cleaned up, and we're going to have a few moments where Leenock is building up Lingbane Hydra, INnoVation is set up onto 3 bases, and we're going to have both players just establishing an army before we see more skirmishes, before we see more fights, because as those Lings go down, what else is there to throw across the map from each player? Not really a lot. Leenock spending money on Hydralists. He's not making a bunch of Lingbane to counter-attack with. INnoVation is investing into that third CC, getting that up and running, making sure his production's ready. This is all just kicking in now. So, you know, yes, in maybe a minute or so, things are going to get hectic again as this push comes across the map, as 1-1 kicks in, stim pack, etc. The Link counter-attack lined up as well, man. I said a minute, maybe make that 20 seconds. Neither of these players are really giving it a break, are they? Zergling's up the left side. I mean, they have been seen, they have been pushed away. Just going to be seeing more units here from INnoVation out through the center of the map. Scan onto that third base. Lings, Banes, and Hydras gathering up together there. But a few Marines pushing forwards. Queen taking some damage. Group Timbers being cleaned out as well. Some Lings to the left-hand side will actually soak up some tank shots, which isn't half bad. Moving some friendly fire onto the siege tank right at the back. A single Marine is currently Overlord hunting. Don't know what he was expecting to get out of this, but he's actually got one of those Overlords very low. He's doing a surprising amount as INnoVation. One of the big things about a scrappy game like this for a Terran player is the creep spread usually is quite far pushed back, and it really is in this situation, especially up in front of the important bases of Leenock. Yes, over here there's a bunch of creep, but INnoVation doesn't want to push up into the natural. He wants to push into the third base towards the fourth. And that's definitely what he can do with where the creep is at the moment, as Link counter-attack again, but this time runs into reinforcements. They will pull back for a moment. A few Lings actually do still end up going towards the third base. INnoVation obviously wasn't too concerned about that, otherwise he would have sent his units back. He does have other reinforcements coming in, and those Zerglings truly are now turned away as, ooh, the units are going to come down this ramp. Siege tank fire is going to be big to start. Those 5 tanks down here, I mean, that's just so much damage. You can see the Banes all going down without really connecting. This combination of just tank shots and lack of creep spread allowing the bio to kite back easily. And it is once again going to be INnoVation surviving here up to the top side of the map. 8 more Hydralists, 6 more Zerglings on the way in. 14 more Zerglings make that as we see a siege tank on the way through, +2 weapons and +2 armor as well. Guess what? Lings are once again around the left-hand side. Marines and Marauders going to stim onto this. Zerglings are going to get to surround. These units are going to get cleaned up. Meanwhile, pushing up into the third, we see Bio is starting to get a little bit of a foothold here, really making the most of it as these few Lings, again, a distraction, but not enough to stop INnoVation continuing to press forwards into this third base. So INnoVation still doing a very good job of this here. Bio units able to get rid of another few Zerglings. Hydras and Queens up at the top. Bio units continue to press. Hydras and Queens starting to push on through a little bit as well. It's a good bit of back and forth at the moment. +2 attack, +2 armor, both on the way. Again, the siege tank fire has been pretty good so far, as we're going to be seeing the rest of this bio force still pressing up. Another tank coming forwards as well. Hydra's taking another shot of damage. Around the left, we see Zerglings running around too. See these Queens continue to get picked off. More Zerglings dropping down. Queens and Hydra start to press into this. Even drones being pulled in. So this is a huge attempt to hold on here from Leenock, as an extra few Marines might just make the difference. There's only a few Hydras left, but there is reinforcing Hydras and Lings. The last 2 tanks are going to get cleaned up, and INnoVation is going to be pushed back. Kills 3 drones despite the drone pull. Maybe you would have thought it would be more. A few of these bio units actually will survive this fight, and they will make it through to survive just a little bit longer. So make it to another fight here in just a little bit, as Lings and Hydras coming back over to the right-hand side. Drones of Leenock moving up to the top, going to get man in there on the 4th base. And this has really just, what a game. Fantastic, just absolutely fantastic to watch, really. As the Zerglings come darting down again, going to start running their way in towards that natural mineral line. And we've had a run-by counter for the number of times we've seen Lings run by into a base. Finally, that bow upgrade done as well, by the way. That run-by counter would be absolutely huge. Only 35 SCVs lost is because INnoVation only loses 3 or 4 workers at a time. That just goes to show how many run-bys there have been. So look at that inefficiency of Leenock, and the problem is he isn't mining more than INnoVation is to be able to make up for that. This is a nice catch though. A couple of siege tanks going down here. Still has those burrowed lanes to pop back up, and boom. Gonna go straight after a few more SCVs. Similar story over in the natural. There's gonna be a bunch of SCVs dropping quick because those SCVs were damaged. Two Marines coming in. It's a shame there was no target fire. That could have been 8 workers instead of 4. Still, this bio falls up to the top side. The 4th hatch sat here as well. 20 more Banelings on the way out. Marauders, Marines, a tank will continue to come through as INnoVation has a few AFK SCVs. No sign of the 4th base from INnoVation. I mean, why would he? He is in a position where it's been a real straining game. If he comes down to the 4th base, it's probably going to be his main base relocating. He has not had the resources to build a 4th command center with what's been going on. Although right now he has a very strong army. His 2 upgrades are done on either side. There's barely any Banelings in this either. There's a few of them that have just morphed in, coming in from the south. I just don't know if it's enough though. On the bottom side again, Banelings go rolling in. Suddenly 29 SCVs get picked up. That's huge. But is it enough? Up here again, the Banelings have not connected just yet. The Hydras are going to run into the bio, and I just don't think you can clean this up as Leenock and INnoVation's army is going to win out, even though Leenock has just done so much damage across the map, sending more Lings to counterattack once again. It is only his 4th base that has gone down so far, but as reinforcing units are already here, it shouldn't be too many losses for INnoVation. He can also just focus on continuing to press across the map with the rest of this army. Circling's getting pushed away once again. Here we go, Bio pushing up the ramp now. And it looks as though Leenock is going to type out GG as INnoVation picks up a game 1 in this best-of-3 series. Damn. Well, that's one hell of a way to start this off, let me tell you that. INnoVation up 1-0 over Leenock. Pretty awesome game on New Repugnancy. Let's hope it only improves as we go into our second game and see if Leenock can bounce back. See if INnoVation can hold out and hold off all of those run-bys. We'll be back in just a moment. Game number 2 between was being 2 really aggressive players so far. On the top left-hand side, we see the Red Zerg. On Titan X1, it is Leenock up against the Blue Terran player to the bottom right. This is INnoVation. Gas first opening for him. As we'll just see him moving in towards a fairly fast factory, of course. Nothing too surprising as you do see a few drones on the way up. Early game, first minute or so, nothing really to talk about apart from just reflecting a little bit back on that game number 1. Again, how crazy, how ridiculous. Just absolute mayhem from start through to finish. Can't really ask for much more than that, can you? It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Just goes to show how games can turn around. I mean, that initial attack from Leenock put INnoVation into a hell of a difficult spot, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, the attack from INnoVation kills off a 3rd base, and you know, completely turns the tide of the game. And Leenock's then kind of fighting to get back in again, and he does damage, and it was just awesome. Overlord down to the bottom right-hand side, as we do see INnoVation just about to set up his command center. Big difference from Leenock in his opening this time around is that he was going to be going pool first in game number 1. This time, hatchery first instead. So that's spawning pool only just now on the way up. That's spool. I've been really enjoying smashing words together lately, by the way, guys. The other day I called the hatchery on the natural the hatcheral. Was that it? Or the natchery? The hatcheral. It was pretty good. I liked it. I was very impressed with myself. But yeah, just wanted to throw a spawn in and pull together with a spool there as well. There's a GC link speed on the way up. Factory just building up here, just over halfway done. Rack's gonna lift up and move over to the side, building up a reactor. Or at least it was cute to build a reactor. It is double gas, so super fast 3rd base. There's a reactor coming down now. And the factory will lift off to a fairly fast tech lab. I mean, a cyclone opening maybe? I mean, a siege tank this quickly doesn't really make sense for TvZ. But a cyclone isn't exactly the most common of openings in TvZ either, so an interesting little way to open as we do see the reactor dropping down on that barracks. So that's up and running here in the next few moments. We're just hanging out up on this high ground as well, so it's just going on here as well right now, setting up at the moment. Starport on the way. In the main base as the barracks lifts off of the reactor. It's just going to go... I mean, I don't even know what it's going to do. Give high ground vision, I guess, for the Cyclone, of course. As I don't know what it's going to do. It hasn't built any Marines. Well, there's a Cyclone. That's how not used I am to having a Cyclone in the game. So, high ground vision. Cyclone will lock onto this Overlord. I mean, again, the Overlord's probably going to be like, a Cyclone? Huh? Now, Hellions on the way, so it is just the early Cyclone. And INnoVation... I mean, you don't really want to take map control of this either at this stage of the game, because it's at that point where you could very easily see... Yeah, you can see Leenock with the question mark. I mean, I think at this stage of the game, you kind of look at this and you're like, well, I mean, if I move out on the map and he has link speed, I'm just going to get surrounded. Now, the Cyclone with the Hellions is a bit of a different story, but even still, it's getting a little bit intriguing. His medevac on the way out. A Baneling Nest slow dropping from Leenock means that he is going to be somewhat prepared for the incoming attack. Building that Baneling Nest means he'll have a response ready if INnoVation tries to attack and push into him here. So, I like the way that Leenock is setting himself up to deal with that. 16 more Zerglings in production, so he's not really cutting... he's not really shying away from cutting drones, right? He's actually embracing the idea. This is so many Zerglings being made. As the Hellions now coming through the center of the map, backed up by the medevac. Where on earth is this? Why is the Cyclone still at home? Is this really just going to be a Hellion drop? I mean, it just feels like such a huge investment that Cyclone to do so far. Absolutely. I mean, it killed an Overlord, which, honestly, I mean, 2 Marines could have killed as well. If they were supported by a Hellion or so to make sure that the Lings didn't surround them. I don't, like, crazy. Crazy, as we do see. Hellion's going running on in, so already some damage being done. Ooh, does find 4 workers. Going to find a couple more up at the top here. Make that 9, and of course the Hellions could lift up and get out alive. Goes for 1 more worker, so 2 Hellions down, but 10 workers killed. A very effective start to this. However, still, pure Ling Bane being made from Leenock. So here we go, this is it. The aggression we've been expecting. All of these Banelings morphing in and getting ready to come knock down this door. Secondary wall-off from INnoVation. I feel like this is going to splash through, and I'm not sure. I mean, there's just so many Banelings. Tank fire will help a little bit. I mean, Hellion's obviously not on this side of the map, and no further Hellion production means we're actually in a little bit of trouble here. These bunkers, not sure if they're even going to finish, as we do see the Marines getting chased back behind the mineral line. Baneling's now morphing in on the mineral line. Let's see if these will hold the position. 12 workers lost already. INnoVation starting to drop down to a similar worker count to Leenock here. And those 2 bunkers are finished up, and they're just not going to be able to do anything in time. Orbital commands will lift up as INnoVation will try and hold the high ground. He's got a siege tank. Leenock is already droning though, happy with the 20 workers he's killed. Feeling like he can probably get out of this game in a pretty good position at this point now. Stim pack about to complete as well. A few more Marines on the way out. So again, a few more Marines up here. Starport building up a reactor. And again, just seeing those Zerglings hanging around up on the high ground. A couple of these orbitals about to drop down in the next few moments. Engineering bays are also just on the way up, so getting those couple of engineering bays up and running, and just going to be seeing the combat shields dropping down on the tech lab as well. Still, these Zerglings spread out quite nicely along this top side. Couple of engineering bays on their way up, going to be finishing in a moment or 2. And we do see the burrow just about halfway done. Combat shields starting as well as the SCV is continuing to come out. Another tank pressing forwards as, again, a couple of supply depots just going to wall off. So Leenock is getting himself into a position where he's actually very comfortable. A lot of drones, lair, burrow. I mean, these things which he's used in the previous games. I mean, the lair's obviously very important just to tech up in general. He's going to get his Evo chamber, so he's not going to be too far behind the upgrades of INnoVation, which is already started up. The 1-1 upgrades already trotting along quite nicely in that regard, so they're already moving along quite nice. 18 Zerglings about to finish. Those 2 Evo chambers finishing as well in the natural. And again, lair just about halfway done for the moment, so that opens up a wide plethora of options. Obviously, the Hydralisk Den, you know, if you want to play a Mutalisk, the Spire. But also just gives you straight up upgrades for the Baneling speed, for example, which is going to be hugely important as well for the mid-game. INnoVation's third CC now landed down in position, still trailing by 20 workers. Just surprised INnoVation. I mean, now he's got medevacs, he will go across the map and drop, but I'm just surprised. I guess I'm surprised those medevacs weren't out earlier, but I guess can only get them out at a certain time, right? There's just been no counter pressure from INnoVation to kind of, go from that point of, you did a lot of damage to me, but you gave up a lot of units. Can I counter? I think it's just because he lost so many units. He didn't really have anything to counter with initially. As those medevacs loading up, coming through to the top side. Going to be dropping down in the next couple of moments. Those Banelings waddling across, some burrowed Banes here as well. There's also some already positioned on this ramp. Oh my god, is this Bioforce actually going to stim straight into it? Honestly, it's exactly where I would go. Oh my god, the Baneling bomb to deal with the drop. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's just ridiculous. Can we just take a moment and just say that's just ridiculous? Like, when do you ever expect to see that? Literally never. Well, now Ling's running across the map. Tanks are going to start firing away, but I mean, there's just going to be so many Lings. There's barely any Marines left over, man. I mean, these Lings just run on in. Obviously, INnoVation not having enough economy throughout, and Leenock will have to clean up that drop. Has no reason to stay back at home. GG's. And we're tied up 1-1 in the best of 3. Some aggressive and very different games here so far in the TvZ. Not just your typical macro game. Been pretty awesome. Let's see how it concludes on Game 3. So this is it, a deciding map between Leenock and INnoVation. Bottom right-hand side, our red Terran player. We have got INnoVation. Looking to try and take this one down. The best of 3 series from this week's Olimoleague is to the top left. The blue Zerg is Leenock. Again, guys, if you're watching the video and you haven't liked or commented down below yet, please do consider checking that out. And of course, if you're really enjoying it, do consider subscribing to the YouTube channel as well. We're going to get back on that grind and try and push that big subscriber mark once again. So, yeah, do check that out as we get this underway. I'd like to see what's going to be happening with a spawning pool dropping down in the main base, and Overlord from Leenock coming down towards the bottom right as well. Just having a look to see what's going to happen. Extractor, spawning pool, dropping on down here in that main base. Obviously the natural hatchery coming in as a follow-up, but it is early gas pool, so maybe some potential aggression from Leenock. Oftentimes when it's pool first, but with a gas as well, you sort of lean towards already thinking about, well, when are the roaches coming, right? Like, it's almost like not a given or guarantee, but it is sort of something of an expectation that is a possibility. 6 more Zerglings on the way out. Queen building on the main base. This Overlord of Leenock still just heading down to the bottom side. Obviously the early scout units just positioning themselves. INnoVation does not opt to scout with an SCV though, so he does not know if it's pool or hatch first, which means he's potentially going to be out of position. So Overlord coming down to the bottom right. Feelings coming across, and again the Reaper from INnoVation just going to be popping up and trying to see what's going on. There are those 6 Zerglings just coming across and going to be wandering through. And the Reaper just heading up in towards the natural, and he's already jumping onto that CC. Instant cancel from INnoVation. I mean, his Reaper's out of position, and it's in the wrong place. And these Zerglings start to nibble their way through the reactor as well. And it's actually pretty serious because the reactor can't repair while it's still building, by the way. So, let's see. SCVs will be there waiting to repair it. There's still actually a lot of damage done in this supply depot. It's actually going to go down. Oh my god, INnoVation's going to let the Lings into his main. I mean, not let them in, but didn't repair. And now the reactor's in trouble. Now you can't repair it because the Lings are surrounding it. Oh my god, INnoVation falling apart in the early stages of game number 3. Those Lings, so much damage done for just a few Zerglings early on. I mean, the reactor's a huge kill because that slows down Hellion production. And as Ling speed finishes very early on here, maybe there's some opportunity for Leenock to get something done with the lack of Hellion production now on the map. All of this because INnoVation sent his Reaper across while not SCV scouting, so he didn't know it was pulled first. He gambled a little bit with the Reaper, and obviously has not paid off for him at all. As we now see the Reaper coming back up towards the upper left-hand side. 10 more Lings and a Queen on the way out. Starport just over halfway done, and we're going to see that command center going to be finishing in just a few moments in the main base. Going to start morphing into an orbital command factory. And lift up, drop down onto a reactor as well. Starport going to build up a Liberator too. And all of these Zerglings heading down to the bottom right side. There is a lair on the way up from Leenock here, and we are just going to be seeing again this group spread pushing forwards. Another hatchery on the third, and again Ling is still coming across. So yeah, still getting that lair up and running. More Hellions on the way out. A Viking 2 just over halfway done. Just going to be seeing that orbital command dropping down into the third base, into the natural location. I mean, having been cancelled initially, you got to remember that too. He cancelled the CC on top of that reactor kill and the depot kill. It's just a crazy lead for Leenock. As his lair finishes, what does INnoVation do about it? Well, Armory, Medevac, Hellions. I think we're starting to head in towards this little bit of a hellbat attack here, and I mean, it's definitely a possibility if Leenock is getting a little bit too greedy, a few too many drones. It's definitely a decent way to perhaps bring yourself back into this, and I definitely like the idea that INnoVation's going to try something rather than just sitting back and saying, well, we'll just see where it goes. Because I feel like there'd be some trouble if not. Do you see that Viking heading up to the top side? Just over halfway down, a couple of Hellions on the way out, and tell you what, there is a lot of Hellions, so that Baneliness is going to be absolutely essential. Spire on the way up too, so it's going to be a Ling meter eventually here from Leenock. Will not get this Overlord because there should be a transfuse, but there wasn't. Not sure why Leenock missed that. That should have been a transfuse and a saved Overlord. Either way, it's actually supply blocks Leenock, so it's actually a pretty bad timing for it to go down. Makes the transfuse even more important. It was definitely worth putting a transfuse on it, and he had the energy. Queen's in range. Goes Spine at the front, going to try and buy some time as the Banelings buying themselves a moment before committing in. Goes for the Hellbats on the top side. The Queens get the Medevac, so no healing already. Yeah, it's a complete shutdown from Leenock, and now INnoVation's going to back away into what? I mean, he's backing away into a worker deficit, into no third CC, no production. He's only on a 1-1-1 setup here, 6 minutes in game. The third CC usually has been built, morphed into an orbital, and producing SCVs by now, thinking about landing in location. Instead, we have 1 Marine producing at a time, 2 Hellions and a Liberator. Well, I think INnoVation's in for a rude awakening in a few moments' time, because we are going to be seeing those extra Mutalisks on the way up. There's Wolfen into Hellbats. The Marines coming forwards here. Spikefall poking away at a couple of those Hellbats. Damage being done. So the Banes were about to crash into everything. GG's called, and Leenock will take it. 2-1 over INnoVation. A pretty, not a super exciting game number 3, I guess, but a really awesome game 1 and game 2, I think. With a game 3 that was just INnoVation falling apart a little bit too hard. GG's. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching another YouTube exclusive. Like I said, these should be back more regularly now. I might still have to skip a couple. My mum is still in hospital, so, now and then just, visiting and stuff while also streaming. It's just sometimes I don't find the hour or so I need to cast, or find a series that's good, cast, and so on. So, we'll do our best, but we'll definitely have other regular uploads daily again, no matter what. So, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Hit that like buttons.